Welcome to Agent PHL On Site, powered by Compass Commercial. We're here with Gary Jonas, principal of Howe Properties Group, at the Overlook on Kelly Drive, overlooking the beautiful Schuylkill River, set here in Fairmount Park. Gary and his team are moving dirt, as you can see. Gary, how did you acquire this site originally?
Yeah, so I would tell you it's years of building reputation. We had bought a site from another developer down on the other side of Kelly Drive, where you go into the art museum and build a project there that was really successful. That guy happened to buy this from a hedge fund that owned it through some foreclosure process. And he was a little bit older in the development business, didn't want to develop it, knew that we did a good job and closed down the street and brought us this project. And as soon as we saw it, we knew it was for us. We just loved the site and the area and everything about it.
And behind us we have 13 townhouses, which were for sale product, now all sold out. What was the demand like for these townhouses when you originally built them, knowing there's nothing else overlooking the waterfront in this immediate submarket?
So the demand was great. We had the 13 townhouses. Obviously, the ones with the river views were in great demand, and we looked at it as it was so interesting for us because we had built on the other side of Kelly Drive. And now we got to come down to this side of Kelly Drive and be able to do what we thought were statement houses with these unbelievable views of the river. And I would say that, we exceeded our sales pace in terms of getting through the process and selling them. They sold for more than we had originally anticipated. And, my sister-in-law bought one of the properties, and I love to come down here and sit on her deck and look at the river and watch the people run by. And it's been tremendous so far.
So with a site like this, what challenges did you face during the entitlements phase or the site discovery phase that A, you didn't expect, B, maybe you did expect but had to overcome? So talk to me a little bit about the pre-development.
So look, we always like to go into the community, meet with the neighborhood, talk about what they want to see on this site. So we had originally envisioned it as just an apartment building when we bought it. The neighborhood was interested in some home ownership, so we changed the plan a little bit. When we were in the middle of planning, actually Wawa came to us and wanted to develop a super Wawa on the site, which would have been great for us as a developer, but the neighborhood didn't want it. They felt like this entry onto Kelly Drive and the entryway to East Falls needed something better than that. And so through talking to them and working through the process, the site was zoned CMX3, so by right, we could do what we are putting here in terms of apartments because it allows for the 6 stories. We have the right parking ratios. None of that was an issue. Neighborhood very supportive, very helpful in the process. The biggest thing that we ran into as a problem was we were originally running our utilities and stuff out to Kelly Drive, and through the process, they changed what they wanted us to do and wanted us to run them out to Ridge Avenue, which, as you can imagine, as you look at this site, creates a problem with getting your water lines and your electric and all that stuff out there. So we had some challenges as we worked through this, and we actually ended up running it all up here underground before we kind of moved to this site. So there was a lot of work that had to be done. We also had to build the whole site up to get it out of the flood zone because it sat kind of a little low on the Kelly Drive side. So now we have a project that's not in the flood zone. All the utilities are worked out, and now it's just pushing it forward, and we couldn't be more excited about getting it done. It's going to be great.
Great. Well, you guys are clearly moving things ahead here. What is your anticipated delivery date for the building? And with such success on the for sale side here with the townhouses, what do you anticipate with the new building? A mixture of condos, for rent, for sale? I know you're going to have some commercial on the ground floor. What's your ideal completion and stabilization plan?
So we're probably 20 months in construction is our plan here. So that probably takes us into early 2022 by the time we're done it. We're talking to a lot of different places about the commercial space. Getting the commercial right, we think, is the key to the whole project. So, we would really like to see something that brings some walking traffic down to this end of the Ridge Avenue corridor. And engages people from Kelly Drive that are already down there into coming up to the site. So, There's a lot of different uses we're looking at. We haven't really settled on anything there yet. And then in terms of condos versus just apartments, one of the things we did find as we went through the townhouse out sale was there were a ton of people that were interested in single floor living, and we're like, we love the location, but the townhouses with the, with the height and the steps, if we could get some single floor living, we would be really interested. So we built them as very big apartments with the idea that we could be malleable. If the market says, hey, this is a really good condo market, housing market's constrained right now, we would have the ability to do condos in there. We love to own real estate long term, and this to us is like an A+ location, so it would be a really tough decision for us to move to the condo versus holding it as an apartment building. But the market's going to dictate what the market dictates. In 20 months from now, we'll have a much better feel for what that is, and whatever the market tells us to do, we're going to do.
Talk about what the tax abatement, the Philadelphia tax abatement, has done to accelerate this type of building, and what do you see moving forward for projects like this that will be one of the last to actually deliver with a full 10-year abatement?
So that's a great question, Ryan, right? And the tax abatement has been a driver. When I talk to people all the time, I tell them, we would develop all through the suburbs. The problem is that you're getting the same rent and the taxes are twice as high, right? And what the city did to kind of accelerate development was wonderful. And I work for the Building Industry Association. I'm the current vice president of that organization, and we've worked really hard with City Council to work through a new tax abatement that phases in over 10 years. So it gives you the ability to still, every year the taxes go up a little bit. They go up 1/10 a year for 10 years. So if you continue to have rent growth and value growth, you can still work within the new tax abatement. That said, to your point, people that get in under the old tax abatement have an unbelievable advantage, right? And so these last projects that get in this year are going to have an unbelievable advantage from an outsale standpoint over everything. So, as we're talking, it feels like we're pushing ourselves to, we're going to be selling condos in this building. So we will see where it ends up, but right now it is contemplated as an apartment building.
Very good. So How Properties recently joined Compass in Greater Philadelphia. Our two groups were affiliated with Compass Commercial. We do a lot of commercial activity in the residential neighborhood, so it's a natural synergy. Talk about your move to Compass as the principal of How Properties and how that's had a positive effect on everybody in your agency.
Sure. So we were an independent brokerage. We had our own brokerage under the How Group, and we looked at the landscape of what was going on and said, we need to align ourselves with who we think is going to win this technology race and has the right outlook on where real estate goes 10 years from now. And we did a lot of research and decided that Compass was the right company. One, because they started with a bunch of technology people, but two, they only wanted to deal with the best people in the industry, right? And that was important to us because, as you know, Ryan, brand identity is everything. And if you're gonna have people go out and represent a brand that you spent 20 years building, you wanna know they're gonna represent it well. And so if you're only dealing with the best of the best, then you're in really good shape, right? And so I will tell you the story that sold me on Compass. We go up to New York, and they say that genius is taking complicated things and making it simple, right? And so they roll out to us, they have this concierge program, and we're gonna roll out this concierge program. Agent says, hey, we need to put a new kitchen in this house. We can put a new kitchen in this house, and Compass will give you the money to do it, and they'll get paid back when the property sells. So I think through in my head, well, man, that's gonna be complicated. How are you gonna secure the mortgage against the property? How are you gonna underwrite it? Like, there's a lot of work to be done here. And they said, no, you got it all wrong. We have the best agents. If my agent tells me that this will make the house more valuable, I'm gonna do it on their word, and I'll get paid back at the end of the deal. And it's that simple. And I went, I wanna work with these guys. They're empowering their agents, they're making complicated things complicated stuff simple, and they're into technology. Like, this is the right place for us to go. And since we've gone there, it's only enhanced our business. We did $100 million in outsale real estate last year, and we probably did 60 the year before. So that kind of growth, and we didn't grow our number of people a lot. We just got in a better company with a better system.
Well, that's very interesting. And to match that story, I can tell you about that concierge program where we actually collaborated with an agent in your office on one of my own investment properties that's now coming to the end of the concierge program, and it's worked like a charm. It seemed too good to be true, but the value that was there from the agent for the new homeowner, for the developer, is unmatched, unlike anything else that's presented in the industry. So Gary, you're a very athletic guy, homegrown guy. What do you think, A, about the Eagles pick last night in the NFL draft, and B, what do you have on the agenda athletics-wise this spring and summer? What do you hope to compete in?
So I appreciate that question. I appreciate you calling me athletic. So we'll start with the Eagles. I'm thrilled with the Eagles pick because I totally believe in taking people that are producing on the field. I don't care as much about the stats and this guy weighs this much and that. If you're on the field and you're producing every day, that's what I'm looking for. And I watch the Eagles as an organization pick a guy that I think is a high character guy and produces on the field. And then I watch the team that we hate the most, the Cowboys, pick a not high character guy and went, this is perfect. This is exactly what we want to see happen.
Back to back.
Right? This is different. This is the difference between philosophy and organizations. And I couldn't be more thrilled with the pick for the Eagles. So that's, for what it's worth, I don't know that much about football, but that's my opinion. And then athletically, I am excited to tell you that I am with a group of 3 other guys riding my bike across the country this year. It's my 50th birthday present to myself, and we're going to go out to San Francisco, start in San Francisco, and ride back across the country. But along the way, we're going to now do Mentors for Miles, and we're going to raise money for Big Brothers while we're on this trip. And we have the goal of raising almost $250,000 on this trip.
Well, Gary, it's very refreshing to see somebody in such a position as you with such a leadership role in the industry and in the city, giving back to the city, taking time from your busy schedule, from your many responsibilities to give back to the community, to be a selfless person. So thank you for that. You're an inspiration to everybody in the industry, everybody at Compass. And we look forward to collaborating in the future. And before we go, let's just talk a little bit about the Overlook Phase II, since we didn't touch on it earlier. What exactly is envisioned here? I know it's 136 units, but talk a little bit about the architecture, the floor plans, the design.
Sure, yeah, I appreciate that. The thing that we're most excited about is, our business model had always been around buildings that had great interior space, but not a lot of amenities and kind of at a lower price point. So you want a great apartment, you can't afford, the couple $100 extra for all these, amenities. Well, we're the right place for you. But here, because of the site, we couldn't do that. So this building is envisioned as kind of a U, so all the units get to look out on the water, right? And then we have 2 courtyards, a main courtyard in the center that'll sit over top. So we have underground parking here, so it'll sit over top of the site, so you can be out in green space looking at the river, but elevated, in our building envelope there. And then we'll have another green space on the roof. We'll have a gym that looks out on the water. So this is our first attempt to do a project that's very amenitized at a different level, and the architecture and the work that was put into it to make as much of it interface with the river as possible, but also create a great feel along Ridge Avenue. This is the start of the commercial corridor for East Falls. So getting a great feel along this Ridge Avenue corridor was important. We bought this site over here that was next to us, that was an old rundown house, just so we could knock it down and create more green space and more openness for the entire site. So, we really think that this is going to be a really, really special project, and the architecture and the amount of effort that was put into it was, I think you'll see reflected when you see the end product.
Well, with the amenities, the waterfront location, the park leg setting, the beautiful building, and the East Falls borough setting, there's nothing quite like this in Philadelphia, and we look forward to seeing it completed and leased up or sold, whatever it may be.